I'm Michael J. Fox. I'm the guy in the movie.
The guy doesn't need any introduction. I'm Davis Guggenheim. I'm the director of Still, a Michael J. Fox movie.
And I'm Michael Hart, the editor of the movie.
That was a big reason. David Guggenheim would like to do a documentary, but you either are in the business or you're not. You either want to do that, work with someone of that quality or not. And I certainly did. And he understood the writing that I'd done and what the feeling was behind it, that it was not what terrible things happened to you with Parkinson's story, that it was a story about what great things happen to you when you're alive. And he got it.
How do you where do you put the Oscar?
Wherever it wants to go.
Where it wants to go?
Wherever it wants to go.
Does it walk around?
Not too far away from the batteries.
I talked a little bit about how I was sort of in a rut as a director. About 3 or 4 years ago, my films got a little serious, and I was a little lost, and I really had lost the joy in my work. And then I read the interview with Michael. It was in the New York Times, and his writing was so good. And even though he's talking about something super difficult, there was a wisdom to it and a humor, and I was like, wait, I have to rethink this guy I thought I knew. And the last couple of years working with both Michaels have just brought joy and laughter in my life that I, as a 59-year-old white man, I really needed. And I feel lifted by telling this story.
It was so nice to have all that material at our disposal, but I think the key was that Davis said to me at the start of the edit, just go for it. Normally there can be a bit of restraint in the edit, but he just said go for it creatively and
Break all the rules.
Break all the rules. Do whatever you want to tell Michael's story as best you can, and don't worry. Don't be afraid of what anybody else will think. Just make it work and make it emotional, and more importantly, make it funny. Hopefully it worked out. But the recreations was always a big source of tension. How we would do that.
We fought about the recreation.
Yeah.
We had a little thing that wasn't in the film we shot one day, where I don't know, he just did it to make me feel good or something. But we did a couple of stunts. We recreated a couple of stunts that I would do, just naturally. I mean, it just really came easy to me, like sliding across car hoods or doing just all the kind of stuff I did. And we had these actors do it, and it was really fun because they couldn't do it. And I was like, well, I'm a 61-year-old guy, and I could kick his ass. But they were great, and he was especially good. And this guy, and he also he loved it. He just loved being there, and he loved. And then it was one of those things. There's little reinforcements I get where I get these movies, Back to the Future, or this TV show, or anything, mean a lot to people. It means more than I could ever figure out, and I don't mean whatever it is. It's unique to them, their relationship with the material, and it was just such a blessing to get a chance to see that, and then you cut it out.
I cut it out. Yeah.
But that kid was great. I really liked him a lot, and I hope he does well.
If you think about it, you said this the other day, short kid from Canada drops out of high school, wants to be a huge movie star, and it happens. And then he becomes this huge movie star, and then out of nowhere, if you talk about the gods on Olympus say, we're going to give this thing to this guy and see what he does with it. Excuse me if I'm like.
No, I love it.
And it's like, what does this 29-year-old young man with a family at the height of his success do with this prognosis? And it's kind of like a Greek story of him going the wrong way before he goes the right way. And I think the affection comes from the grace and the attitude and the spirit that he has. I've never once heard you complain. I've never once heard you, say, seek for pity. And last night at our toast, you were like, I'm so happy, I'm so grateful. And I was like, well, how does a guy who has this incurable disease have this kind of sense of joy and gratitude? And that's just so appealing. So I feel that way, and I think that's why the world feels that way.
They want to confer an ability, but more than that, I don't think it comes from any place of malice or bad things, but it definitely, like all this, they want to put us in a little thing where they know where we are, a little box, and they can check on us every once in a while and throw us a cracker or something. But I don't just mean with ill people. I mean with anybody, whatever your thing is, whether you're a journalist, whether you're a photographer, whatever you are. People want to know what that is, and put you in that thing. And so what I would say was with disabilities and challenge, different challenges is that there's a tendency to start in with the slow piano music, and which you did kind of with a wink.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool because it was there, but it was not the same thing because it had been followed this whole movie where you know what that meant. Whereas generally, there's this feeling of wanting to again just place people in a role, and for whatever it's worth, it's bullshit to me. I won't do that. Like if you expect me to do something, then get ready for Plan B because something else is going to happen, and that's what makes life worth living.
There's an important thing we talked about this
I
morning.
was about to say, yeah.
You want to go ahead?
Michael's direction at the start of the film was whatever you do in the edits with the soundtrack, no violins. Just don't go there, like, you know.
Sax, but no
it's-
violins.
Sax, yeah.
But there's a brilliant thing that Michael Hart does at the very beginning of the movie, and you see Michael at present state getting up and struggling to brush his teeth, like to hold the toothbrush, and right away Michael cuts to this thing of like this idea of like, is this a sad sack story of a guy who gets an incurable disease? And Michael just says, "No, that's boring," and it immediately tells the audience, don't look at this man don't put him in a box. This movie is not a movie that you think you're going to see. It's different. It's not a movie about a sick person. It's actually a movie about a person who's very much alive.
Yeah. And I've never had a screening before where I've heard so much laughter. Like, that hasn't happened. And from the start of the film to the end, people were laughing, like, which is rare. Usually you get half an hour and then the laughter starts to sag a bit, but this just kept going to the end of the film, which was incredible. And it's also because Michael's just so funny, you know.
I thought there was something wrong. Like,
Yeah.
like climate change, you know, public education, all the you know. My kids say you make movies to piss people off, and they were laughing. I'm like, was there something wrong here?
Sorry to interrupt. The interesting thing to me was when I decided to do Spin City, when I decided to leave Spin City, one of my concerns was, and to tell the audience that I had Parkinson's, one of my concerns was, well, can they laugh at a character they know is ill or has some can my work transcend that this other stuff? And in a way, this film had the same challenge, and to my eye, did it better than I did. I mean, it's so comprehensive, like the way these guys tackled every area of it, and just kind of like said to people, look, you got that? Moving on, lesson B, and then moving on to lesson C.
But you do that. I mean, we learned that from you.